Mayor, Council, this is really a follow-up to a letter that I had sent to you on October 30th, November 1st. And this is a follow-up communication. I had provided Mr. Howard with a brief slide presentation. Mr. Howard, I think you have that. Great. And basically what I want to talk about tonight is some of the questions that have come to a number of us from our customers concerning our water rates and those concerns. And this is to hopefully address some of them. I want to first start off by talk a little bit about where the trends are when it comes to both national, regional, state, and local. Talk a little bit about the impacting on the rates, where we are in terms of competition with the rates, and what are we planning to do in terms of customer service. Next slide, please. In terms of our rates, unfortunately, as many of you probably know, rates nationally are going up. In most places, in most parts of the country, they've gone up significantly. We've seen rates as high as 30% in certain places of the country. There's a host of reasons why. I know it's not on my slide, and maybe I'm showing my age, but I'm sure some of you probably recall, maybe some of you recall, you used to turn the water on, it was free. And the idea of free water now is just almost impossible to think about. And unfortunately, it's going to continue to go up as time goes on. I'm going to try to explain maybe perhaps why. Next slide, please. Now, what's impacting our rates, and I'm really talking pretty much specifically in Willingboro. As many of us know, Willingboro was created by the Levitt family back in the 50s and 60s. And, we're sort of known for being historically one of the oldest suburbs in the country. Actually, maybe the second oldest suburb in the country. And the way Levitt was able to provide such suitable economical homes, maybe not suitable, but economical homes, is the fact that he built everything all at once. He built the roads, he built the street, built the curbs, and he also built all the water and sewer. And so I'm spending a little bit more time on the aging infrastructure because that really is a critical component of why our rates are going up. While we've been maintaining our infrastructure over the years, such as the fact that fortunately we have just about improved all of the water mains throughout the entire township. But there are a lot of other infrastructures that I'm going to show which are requiring improvements now. And I'll go into a little more detail. The other thing I have here is PFAS, and you probably heard that term. It used to be called an unregulated contaminant, and now the state of New Jersey is requiring remediation. I can say that fortunately for Willingboro, we still are very much lower than what is considered remediation necessary. But we also know that the way the regulations are working, both in terms of the state and federal, and also this PFAS, that we need to be prepared in order to address it. And we've started preparing for it now. We have a couple of wells that have shown some low-grade PFAS. And in anticipation of the new regs, we're improving that. Climate change is sort of where everyone is reading about. And that, in our case, fortunately, we don't have droughts, but we do have a lot of rain. And fortunately, we're addressing that, I should say the township is, with the stormwater management plan, but that does affect the impact of our rates. And then finally, the increase dealing with the regulations that I talked about, some of which are somewhat the minimal leakage. Believe it or not, there's quite a bit of leaks that occur just within our own system. And that can also cause for an increase in our rate structure. Next slide, please. Now, just to put it in context as to where we are in terms of everyone else, we're on the far right, I guess the far right-hand side. And everyone knows that we had a very, very high rate increase, the highest we've ever had last year. And I can report that hopefully we will never see that again. In fact, I may mention that we have a rate hearing tomorrow at 6 o'clock is our rate hearing. Everyone is invited. The rate hearing notice is on our website. Actually, it's predominantly right on the front page as to what our rates are going to be, or not going to be, what we are announcing. Tomorrow is just to let everyone know what is proposed. We want to hear from everyone first. We're going to further evaluate it. And then sometime thereafter at another meeting, we will then decide what our rates are going to be. But I can tell you that it's not going to be anything near like what it is, what the rates were last year. But even with that, you can see that we've always been known for having the lowest rates ever. And while we still are considered low, it is within range of what everyone else is sort of doing. The Evesham Township, which is the next one, is not really Evesham. It really is, it's a report from Evesham, but it is based upon 26 other MUAs within this area. And so taking an average of all 26, you can see that we are below, and we'd like to stay there if we could. And the rest you can see where the national average is, and we'll leave that alone, but it gives you a bit of thumbnail sketch. Next slide, please. Now, that little cartoon I don't take credit for, but let me just say that it does reflect what we are seeing in our customers in terms of the number of calls we are getting. And that was mainly because we had couple things going on. One was the fact that we had a period of time where we were estimating water reads. When COVID hit, the state did not allow us to walk the streets, take the water reads like meter reads that we normally do, and therefore we had to estimate, and that was estimation over a period of time. We then had to convert from estimate to real, and when we did that, there was our computer was not used to that, and we got some incredibly high reads, as some of you probably know or may have experienced. And we had to put to task our customer service, which was never prepared for the kind of calls that we received. And so considering the fact that we're now upgrading everything, we wanted also upgrade and improve our customer service. What you see here is our new customer service format, which will be online as well as available to the public at our administration building and on our bills. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but it basically is divided into 3 categories. We now have designated customer service representative, or what I call CSRs. And these folks are trained to handle basic telephone calls and basic questions. And so hopefully that will cut down on a lot of the frustration levels that we have experienced from some of our customers. However, there are still those that need further service, and they also have further concerns for whatever reason, because their bills are too high or because of certain individual situations that they're occurring. With that in mind, we have now trained what I call senior CSRs, and these folks have the time and the resources and the experience to spend time with the customers. In fact, up until now, you could call the office and actually make an appointment to see us. That unfortunately may change, as Mr. Howard mentioned, with the influx of COVID. One of the things we're thinking about doing, in fact, I've started putting in play, is to have Zoom meetings, individual meetings with our customers, so that you'll be able to call, you will get a designated time, you will be able to call in, have a Zoom meeting with a particular senior CSR who will then spend the time necessary to try to answer and alleviate any concerns you may have, and actually help to, if necessary, try to adjust your bill. And then the final recourse, of course, is the executive director, me. And I still get the telephone calls. I still welcome the telephone calls, but I just think that if there are more people involved like there are now, I think it will help. But again, the final, as they say, the buck stops with me. If there are any problems, it's still my concern, and I want to know about them. Next slide, please. Now, what are we doing to help alleviate some of the issues? The first one is what we call smart meters or advanced metering infrastructure. And this has already been approved, it's already been financed, and we are now in the process of going through, and I'll show that in the next step, the process of smart meters. Now, why are we doing smart meters? Well, first of all, because number one, it will provide 24/7 real time for customers to see what their water usage is. Ultimately, and of course, right now, everyone gets billed quarterly. We're hoping to move away from that to a monthly billing system. And we're also moving away so that you'll actually be able to see your bills real time. The advantage to that as well is that we're also going to be able to detect leaks immediately. The system is set up so that we will be able to flag any place where we think there may be an excess water use or leaks, and we'll be able to take care of it immediately. Also, it will also give us the ability to have accurate real-time reading and eliminate the old water meters, which have been in existence since Levitt started building them. Next slide, please. Mr. Howard, there you go. Thank you. Now, how's it work? And I should add that this is a preliminary discussion tonight. One of the things that we're planning on doing, because this is a big move for us, it's a big move for all of us, is that we're going to be having an outreach education program that we're going to start sometime in January. And I'm sort of getting ahead of the slide, but I wanted to explain to the public and to the council and the mayor that we're going to be rolling this out in stages, and the stages will be published. You'll see what section of town you're in. But before we actually pull the trigger, before we actually do any of these meters, we're going to be creating local advisory panels. These panels will be made up of local residents as well as the company and representatives from the MUA, who will be meeting with the local residents so that they fully understand and can work along with how the smart meters work. The picture that you see in front of you is basically how the system works. And it's a meter system that is information that has gone from point A to point B in a secure fashion, meaning that no one has to worry that somehow someone could hack in the system and change things. It has been proven, while it hasn't been used often here in New Jersey, mainly because people have been using an older system than what we have, it does allow us readily available information, which I may add, we have also looked into with the wireless communication in the middle. We're hoping that we're maybe able to expand this wireless feature to other items that the township may want once it's up. And I will be providing more information as time goes on. This is the obvious sort of the back office of what we're doing. And you'll be starting to, I guess you won't see it, but there'll be antennas installed on our water towers. We think that's all we need. And at that point, they'll be hooked into our office building, which quite frankly, I would hope that it ever looked like that. But for now, let's just say it's a small version of that. In any event, and then we'll be able to bill, as I said, eventually we'll be able to bill monthly when we eventually do this. All of this is going to be completed next year, I should say. Next slide, please. Now, in the other big item that we are focusing on is the infrastructure improvements that I mentioned before. About 2 years ago, we started on developing a 5-year capital improvement plan. And last year, we introduced that plan to the public and introduced the future rate structures. And this is the first phase of that 5-year phase. It happens to be the biggest phase. What you see in front of you incorporates about $19 million worth of improvements. And again, tonight was not the night to go into the real details, but to basically explain overall some of the bigger ones. And I'm going to mention that. The biggie has to be our pollution control plan. There's been a lot of focus on the water plant, but very little focus on the pollution control plan. That was mainly because water was highly regulated, and after Flint, Michigan, there was a lot that needed to be done. We're still focusing on that, but there has been a lot of new regulations that are starting to come about dealing with our environment, the Delaware, and our pollution control plant, which clearly needs to be upgraded. That giant picture you see at the bottom is just one of multiple projects that we'll be working on. But besides that, I'm going to mention 2 more. The first one is the SCADA. And SCADA is a supervisory control and data acquisition system. And what that does, it enables us to now communicate, and that's what the top picture is. It enables us to communicate with all of the infrastructure that we have in Willingboro. As you probably know, we have multiple plants, pumping stations, our main plants, all of which do not communicate with one another, but they will be able to do that securely under our SCADA system. The second one is directly below it, which is the microgrid and battery storage. This will allow us, right now we have a lot of generators, and so we've never actually, knock on wood, ever had a problem, even when we've had storms. We have a really good backup system when it comes to generators, but we all know that now there is many more storms and they're lasting a lot longer. And so in order to make our company self-sufficient, we're putting in a microgrid battery storage, which means that everything can go down, but our system will remain up. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide is the question slide. How about that? I was on a real roll there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.